talk is Remembering the Body, Patriarchal Language, Feminist Embodiment, and the Politics of Intuition. And our speaker for this session is Amy Sousa. Amy E. Sousa holds a master's in depth psychology. She is a women's rights activist, writer, lecturer, and educator with an expertise in instincts, intuition, safeguarding, and embodiment. As an activist, Sousa has organized multiple rallies, protests, and free speech events on behalf of women and girls, sex-based safeguarding provisions, and against the unnecessary medicalization of children. She has testified in state and city legislatures on behalf of women and girls' privacy, sports, prisons, and against child medicalization. Amy's writing can be found at www.theknownheretic.com and at knownheretic on X, YouTube, Instagram, and at known.heretic on TikTok. So if you'll all join me in welcoming Amy Sousa.
Okay, alright. Welcome. I'm so glad you're all here, and it is a pleasure to be speaking once again at the WDI conference. So I want to start out with a little Mary Daly quote. She has written a number of amazing books, and she is really good at picking apart language, and that's what I'm going to be talking a lot about today. And she says that remembering is an act of resistance, a way of weaving ourselves together again. And what she means by remembering is not just to mentally recall, but to remember the body, to put our bodies back together again. And it is so exciting to deliver this right after Aurora Linnea has given her talk on body horror. So she spoke about the patriarchal body horror, and this talk is really about what is that remembering? How can we put ourselves together again? So for centuries, women's embodied wisdom has been dismissed, suppressed, and overwritten by patriarchal structures that have dismembered women's history, agency, and intuitive knowing by fragmenting and erasing them. Patriarchal language has shaped how women see ourselves, disconnecting us from our bodies and our intuition. So remembering is the process of putting back together that which has been severed. So this talk is going to explore how reclaiming intuition and felt knowing is a radical act of feminist resistance. A lot of times when I talk about embodiment, when I talk about intuition, people think that I am talking about something new age and woo and out there, sort of akin to crystal worshiping or voodoo even. But this is really it is not radical, it is not woo at all. It is very grounded. It is the very basis of our self-knowledge and the basis of safeguarding. It is a practical capacity that we have that has been erased from us. So this remembering is about calling it back. Reconnecting with embodied ways of knowing challenge the patriarchal constructs and offer new opportunities for liberation. Reclaiming our bodies as sites of knowledge is to reclaim the power and to define our own reality. To remember is also to bring women back together in connection with one another, to form that feminist collective consciousness. So these patriarchal systems that we are a part of currently, that we have been a part of in past history, work to sever us from our most powerful source of wisdom, which is our bodies. By privileging abstract, disembodied rationality over felt knowing, dominant linguistic and cultural structures have suppressed our ability to trust our intuition, that critical tool for safeguarding ourselves and our communities. So this talk speaks about how reclaiming this embodied knowledge is not only a feminist act of resistance, but a foundational strategy for protection and survival and collective liberation. So in a world where women are confronted and conditioned to doubt our instincts, whether that is in personal relationships, public spaces, or institutions, restoring our trust in a felt sense is an essential act. It's not irrational. This is the deep intelligence of the body shaped by our lived experience, shaped by intergenerational wisdom, and an acute knowledge and understanding of our environment. Recentering intuition is a legitimate and necessary form of knowing. And through this knowing, we can better challenge the very structures that seek to control, silence, and disempower us. So, we are born sensing. So Aurora eloquently broke down the position of Cartesian mind-body duality. That is one in which we are inborn. It is saturated in the mythology of this culture. You can see people saying, I think, therefore I am, I think, therefore I am. It is in popular television shows, it is in songs, it is the basis of the Matrix film series. But rather than being born thinking, I think, therefore I am, it would be more accurate to say, I sense, therefore I am. Think of an infant. When an infant is born, an infant does not yet have that developed prefrontal cortex. That cortex is for abstraction. It is for analysis. It is for judgment. But before that prefrontal cortex is awake, before an infant can even think, I think, an infant is a sensing being responding to its environment intelligently. An infant can root towards the breast. As much as an infant can move, it can flinch away from pain. That pain-pleasure response, that primal, embodied wisdom is the core of all safeguarding. So, sensing comes before thinking, and phenomenologist Merleau-Ponty observed that underneath the conceiving body is the perceiving body, the body as it actually experiences prior to all conceptions. The body initiates all, and the body suffers all. So this is a very simple but revelational observation about our relationship to our own meaning-making capacities. Before we conceive, before we create mental judgments and analyses about our situation, we perceive our situation through our bodies first. This back part of our brain, this basal ganglia, this amygdala, this lizard brain that we have is awake and aware, recognizing all patterns around us and synthesizing that information before our prefrontal cortex can think about it. So, contrary to Cartesian conceptualization of our essential being as a thinking self, our sensing or experiencing self is our most primal level of self-awareness. And our thinking is necessarily reflexive of that. Thinking always comes after the fact of our direct sensory perception. Even thinking that involves the most super futuristic sci-fi imaginings is based first and foremost in our primary experiencing. Without a primary experience, there would be nothing to think about, or experience, or know, or imagine. Without a foundation in sense experience of the world, there would be nothing to reflect upon or build inventive theories from. Merleau-Ponty said, at the heart of even our most abstract cogitations, the sensuous and sentient life of the body itself is primary. So we are sensuous, material beings living in relationship with the material world. Our bodies are our point of contact with the world. The sensual material world makes up the substance of all of our concepts and imaginings of the world. And sometimes online I have people argue with me that, well, we're religious and I believe the soul is primary. But I ask them, where can you experience the soul? Where else is there to experience it? There is only our embodied experience. Whatever your religious or spiritual perspective is, being embodied is the only way to experience those beautiful, mystical things. The only place to have an out-of-body experience is as the embodied. So this body is primary and primal. Okay. So I want to give you a little theory here. So this is a book by Leonard Shlain, and it is called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. It is a work partially of anthropology, and it is also partially a supposition, but I think it's a really good one. And what he does here is he looks at the rise of alphabetic cultures. So he looks at where did the rise of the written language happen, and he notices how that coincided with the fall of goddess cultures. And language informs the basis of not just how we communicate with one another, but it forms the basis of how we think. So what is a language? How do we use language? Language is broken up into abstract little bits, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or whatever language your culture uses, other languages. Those are abstract. They are unlike goddess cultures, which used images. This is an abstract way of learning. It's abstract, it's sequential, it happens one at a time, and it is linear. You cannot understand the information until it is laid out one at a time after you. You won't know the entire premise of this talk until I get to the very end of it. You are forced to be in time learning in this way. So this way of learning privileges these things in the world. It privileges abstract thinking. It privileges linear thinking. It privileges sequential knowledge. It privileges rationalization, logic, and cognitive reasoning. Now, all of these things are very important. This is not an argument against those things, but it is an observation that these things are overvalued in our culture, whereas goddess religions were image-based. Now, think of when you look at a painting. When you look at a painting, you are experiencing it all at once. Same as when you are in nature. You are experiencing it all at once. You can take a little part of that image and focus in on it, but it is still part of the whole image. So when you are learning in that holistic manner, it privileges other values, concreteness, holism, all at once, things that are sensed, intuitive, instinctual. So these are values that were alive and awake and privileged at one time, but all of these things now are very undervalued. So now we are going to move into some Mary Daly. And what she is very good at is she is good at looking at that patriarchal language and picking apart how that has happened and looking at how the language is structured and taking it apart. So, oops, I'm out of... Okay, so Mary Daly talks about the lived body not just as flesh and bones, but it is the body as experienced from within, how we sense, how we move, how we bleed, how we desire, how we age. And women, our lived body experiences include menstrual cycles, childbirth, sexuality, menopause, rhythms of energy, and creativity. And one thing really struck me when I was listening to Aurora's talk about body horrors and how these body horrors, the men who devalue and want to separate themselves from embodiment, how this is a particularly male thought because women must have always experienced themselves and one another's as creatrixes. We are the generators of life. Whether you are a mother yourself, you come from a mother and that is part of your lineage. So our understanding of ourselves and of our bodies is necessarily creative. So we would necessarily have a very different perception of our embodiment. So this hatred of our bodies is learned. It is environmental. So she talks about the estrangement created through patriarchal language and naming. She gives examples like our menstruation was called the curse or our uncleanliness. Female sexuality was turned into temptresses and sluts and virgins versus whores. Aging women were called hags and crones and very much in the pejorative sense. So these languages have been assimilated by us, but they do not arise from our own embodied experience, but from male projections. And the result is that women encounter our own bodies not as home, but as hostile territory defined by someone else's script. Daly also notes that patriarchal religions and sciences split women from our own cyclical knowledge, from our own lunar rhythms, from our fertility, from our seasons of creativity. The man-made calendar, and Leonard Shlain also talks about this in his book, the calendar that we use, the 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, that is a very patriarchal system in itself that dissociates us from our own experiencing of our time based on our cycles. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Okay. So, we see this now. So, before maybe it was the crone and the hag and the slut, but now this is the new patriarchal language. Birthing persons, black birthing persons matter. 40% of menstruators support. Vulva owners, your peak sexual may last longer than you think. I need my glasses. Yes. Vagina owners and non-prostate havers and chest feeders and of course cervix havers. So all of these are the new linguistics of disembodiment, and they are the new linguistics of patriarchal naming and control. Daly critiques this. Patriarchy has named women where we have been unable to name ourselves. So she argues for reclaiming that naming of ourselves. This language, cervix havers, vulva owners, menstruators, chest feeders, this is the language of disembodiment. Instead of viewing women as fully embodied, whole human beings, it is the language of compartmentalization. It is the language of commodification, in which you can mix and match, do Build-A-Bear body parts, buy and sell things, remove your breasts, add breasts on. It is the language of objectification, and ultimately, it is the language of dissociation. The language of embodiment that I would invite us to reclaim includes our instinct, includes our intuition, includes our direct sense perceptions of the world, and it includes our imagination. So last year I spoke about my critique of the DSM's diagnosis of gender dysphoria. I am not going to go deeply into that critique this year, but I do want to observe that diagnosis is very fallible. I would encourage you to read what myself and other mental health professionals are saying about that diagnosis, because what that diagnosis does is it normalizes the notion that some kids are born in the wrong body. We are not born in the wrong body, nor are we even, no child is born in the wrong body. We need to get away from the thinking of in. We are not in our bodies. We are born as embodied. If you hit my body, you're not just hitting my body, you're hitting me. We are fully embodied. I am my body. So, I chose this to represent it. This is a little kind of chat book, comic book written by this woman, Theo Parrish. This is the kind of material that kids are reading. This is not an educational book, it is just an entertainment book meant for tweens and teens. She features her body as a sort of a house suit, this house that she is in that can be reconstructed. The first line, your body is a temple. Of course, this references a lot of religions. And she says, mine felt more like a rental. She says, but I dream of the day when I could rebuild and choose wallpaper that suits me. So this notion is coming down through trans ideology that there are just little things you can fix, you can change things, you can buy this part, you can add this part, that bodies are these mix and match separates, that we are Build-A-Bears or Mr. Potato Heads, and that these things are just little parts that you can take off or put on and take on again or take off. Even those, many of you know that I grappled with breast cancer. And even as I was going through that fighting to save my breast, my surgeons were telling me, well, maybe if you get the double mastectomy, you'll like your new breast even better. This will be even better. But to put myself in that situation where it was to put myself in a situation where I would no longer be able to feel. They literally remove your nipples. You have no sensation. You give up sensation. You give up feeling yourself. You give up feeling. I actually want to jump to this slide, and then I'm going to jump backwards. I talk about this tale. So The Little Mermaid, the Disney version, is not the true version of this tale, and this tale comes with a very important lesson for kids that we have now lost. So in the original Christian Andersen version of The Little Mermaid, she literally trades her voice to cut off her tail and gain legs. When she does that, she, loses her voice. To lose sensation is to lose your voice. To lose your connection to your embodiment is necessarily to lose your voice, to lose the voice of your body, sending you those intuitions, those safeguarding signals, those instincts. This to me is a primary lesson that we are missing from the Disneyfication of this story. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to this. This, however, is a beautiful story. The tale of Vasilisa the Wise. This is a tale of intuition and how to find our intuitions. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but briefly, Vasilisa loses her mother, lives with an evil stepmother and stepsisters who she is sent out by, forced into the woods alone. But her mother has given her a gift. Before her death, her mother gives her a little doll, and she tells Vasilisa to feed this doll. And everywhere that Vasilisa goes in the woods, she approaches, should I go left or right? She asks the doll. And when she asks that question, she feeds it a little piece of bread. This doll represents the voice of the intuition, the legacy of a good mother to her daughter, is to be able to listen to that inner voice, seek out that inner wisdom. In the forest, Vasilisa meets the Baba Yaga, who is a wild woman. She is a hag, she is a medicine woman, she is a little bit scary. And Vasilisa is wise to be healthily fearful of her. Vasilisa's house, I pictured this house next to the disembodied house, sits on these chicken legs and it moves about on its own. This house is a metaphor. It is wild. It is something that Vasilisa needs for herself to find this animal nature within herself, to sharpen and hone her intuition. Many of you know I always am talking about The Gift of Fear. I love this book. If you haven't already read it, you need to read it. But one of the things that he says, or he points out, Gavin de Becker, a safeguarding expert, says that every other animal on the planet teaches its young to hone their instincts, to sharpen their instincts, to be better at reacting and responding to their instincts. Humans are the only animal on the planet telling their young to disregard their instincts, to disregard the insights of their bodies. And I want to read you a quote from this. And I actually brought my book because I just love this book. If you haven't already read Women Who Moan with the Wolves, this is an amazing book. I used to teach a course on this book. It is a beautiful book filled with many, many insights. But I love what Clarissa Pinkola Estes says about the intuition in this chapter. Oh no. Friends!
Take your time.
Okay. Well, I marked some pages, but these are not the pages that I thought that I marked. But still, let's see, wait. Okay, oh good, okay. The Newman of the doll reminds us and tells us to see ahead for us. This is what the intuitive function does, and it belongs to all women. It is a massive and fundamental receptivity. Not receptivity as once touted in classical psychology as a passive vessel, but receptivity as in possessing immediate access to profound wisdom that reaches to women's very bones. Intuition is not just the gut sense, it's not just the tingling. This practice of building the intuition, which is what Vasilisa does, is a practice. It is a honing, it is a sharpening. The more we are in contact with that intuitive voice, the stronger and more powerful it will become. It is a capacity and a resource that we must take advantage of, that we must share with one another, and that we must teach to our kids if we have them. Okay. So some of you may have heard me talk about this metaphor before. And this is the metaphor of the empty house. It is also about barriers and boundaries. And I want to sort of solidify for you how intuition and embodiment helps us with safeguarding, helps us have boundaries. So barriers are things that are out of our control. Boundaries are things that are within our control. We can look at all of trans ideation, all of trans cosmetic surgeries and molding and drugs as an attempt at a barrier. We can look at the need for pronoun control, the need to control other people's perceptions of you. This is a barrier. You must call me by these pronouns, and then you see these kids flip out on TikTok because someone called them ma'am or someone called them sir. A barrier is not within your control, and so if you are constantly trying to reinforce your barrier and press up against your barrier, you are necessarily in a place of insecurity. You are necessarily in a place of brittleness. Barriers are brittle. They collapse easily. So, in this metaphor, we see the abandoned house. And that abandoned house is surrounded completely by a fence. In this case, it's a chain link fence, but let's say that that fence even had all kinds of barbed wire around it. What if it was all covered in that swirly barbed wire from ground to foot? The point is, everyone can see that this house is abandoned. Kids break in and do their drug deals in there, or drug dealers do business in there. Kids throw bottles through the window. People throw trash in the yard. People let their dog take a dump in front of it. Because despite how many barriers are erected, everyone can see that this house is abandoned. No one is manning this house. And this is the same with a lot of these kids who take on this ideology and try to erect it as a boundary. You are not allowed to talk to me this way. You have to address me like this. You have to see me like this. Everyone can see, and especially predators can see, that these children have abandoned themselves. And they are abandoned by their families. And everyone can see that they are vulnerable targets. Down the block, we see another house. Doesn't even really have a fence. I mean, it's just kind of it's kind of just a visual fence. That's a little picket fence you could just step over. But no one bothers this house. No one throws bottles through the window. No one breaks in and has parties in there, because everyone can see that this house is fully occupied. The occupants are home. The lights are on in the windows. There's smoke coming out of the chimney. This house is fully embodied. Embodiment is a natural boundary. It is a natural way of saying, I name and claim this space. I am here. I am present. This is what we need to be passing on to one another, and this is what we need to be passing on to our kids. The more I am embodied, the more I can be responsive to the signals of my body. And we need to think of our intuition and our responsiveness to that the way that you would desire to be responsive to touching a hot pan. If I touch a hot pan, I want to immediately recoil. The more sensitive my hand is to heat, the better I can protect myself. The more sensitive we are to the voice of our emotions, to the voice of our intuition, the more responsive we can be. And judgments, rationalizations, and linguistic ploys interrupt our ability to be responsive. As women, if we are alone in a bathroom and a man comes in, gender ideology tells us to start thinking, well, wait, he's wearing some lipstick. Is this man supposed to be a woman? Maybe he has, he was born in the wrong body. Maybe he has a mental condition. I'm trying to analyze his style choices. But it is not our responsibility to analyze men's styles choices. It is not our responsibility to be lay therapists for men in our bathrooms. It is not our responsibility to engage in judgments that suppose anything about his behavior. our responsibility is to our own responsiveness, to respond to our instincts the most quickly. So I want to end with talking about another figure that Clarissa Pinkola Estes talks about in her book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, and this is the Baobo. And Baobo is a very important little goddess, and she tells us, she gives us a path. She gives us a possible path. There are many ways I could have chosen to end this. There are a lot of paths to develop our senses, to develop the tool of our intuition, but I think Baobo is a really great one. So Baobo is featured in the story of Demeter and Persephone, and many of you may be familiar with this myth. In this myth, Persephone has been captured. She's the daughter of Demeter, and she has been captured by Hades, and she has been stolen away to the underworld where Demeter cannot reach her. And Demeter has plied her case with the other gods, please rescue my daughter, and none of these other gods will listen. And so Demeter, the mother, the life giver, is in mourning. She is devastated. She has lost her daughter. She cannot do anything. All she can do is sit by a well and mourn. And many of us are in this emotional state, whether it is trying to plead with others to do something, whether it is being angry at the situation, but ultimately being helpless. She feels helpless, and so she is trapped, although she's this incredible goddess. She does not know what to do. She is in such despair. So while she is sitting by the side of the well, up comes this little figure of Baobo. She herself is a goddess, although not as well known, and she is, we are told in the story, she is kind of all belly and eyes and vulva. She is made of vulva, and what she does is she tells dirty stories. She tells very dirty, funny stories, and she tells them and tells them and tells them, and ultimately she makes Demeter laugh. And Demeter starts to giggle, and Demeter starts to shake, and her laughter overcomes her. And she wakes up from her mourning. She becomes alive again. That laughter resonates through her. It quakes her. It wakes up those stuck places in her. I wanted to share today, but I could not figure out how to do technology so well, but I think you all know Mary-Kate Delvey. She is hilarious. She is a great embodiment today of Baobo. She tells the jokes that no one else is willing to tell. And I'll tell you what, I went on Google and I searched up comedians making fun of trans. Could not find it. Then I was like, comedians telling politically incorrect jokes about trans. Nothing. At first I was searching for women, and then I was like, I'll just search for everyone, men. And we know Ricky Gervais has made primetime jokes about this. We know Dave Chappelle has made primetime jokes about this. It will not come up in the Google search. The Google is telling me there is a polite way to make fun of everyone. There's a way to be on the side of trans people, make fun of them. It will not show me anyone. This is telling us who we are not allowed to make fun of. But I truly see this laughter at these men. The laughter at what they are doing, how they are mimicking us, is essential to our awakening, and to let that laughter quake in us. I see her being so irreverent. She swears, she's irreverent, she tells them to shut the fuck up and sit down, bitch, and, tranny. She says everything. Everything that we are not supposed to say, that we're not allowed to say, that we are supposed to be nice about. And when I see those videos of hers, it enlivens me for the work that I do. which is sometimes heavy and sad and mournful and angering. So I do invite you, if you have not yet seen her work, to go and take a look at it and let this laughter inform you. Laughter is an incredible way to wake up and shake up that intuition, to allow yourself to be moved.
What's her name again?
Mary Kate Delvey.
Thank you.
There are other ways to wake up our intuition as well. And,
Amy.
oh,
Amy. We have about 10 minutes.
okay, good. This is my closing. There are a lot of other ways. There is being outside in nature. There is doing a movement practice, whether it's yoga or dance or swimming or sports. There is also our creativity. There are a lot of ways to wake up that intuition, but the important point is to listen to that voice for yourself, to be in participation with it. Gavin de Becker, in his book, talks about not every intuition is accurate in the sense of, like, I hear a sound and I think, oh, is there somebody outside my house? Not every intuition is going to be accurate, but every intuition should be responded to. And the more you respond to those intuitions, the more you are in participation with it. And I wanted to end with this thought. This is a paraphrase of a Paracelsus quote. Paracelsus was a very old alchemist. He is often quoted by the likes of Jung. He's also quoted famously by this guy, Henry Corbin, who talks about Sufism and Gnosticism. But he says, the true imagination is in alignment with nature, whereas fantasy is the madman's cornerstone. And I constantly come back to this. As I said earlier, I do not think this deadened language and this deadened way of thinking is natural to women. We are naturally creators. Our bodies are literally made to create. And true imagination is in alignment with nature. That which we are doing here at this conference is in alignment with nature. Trans is a fantasy. It is fantastical. It is madness. It is unsustainable. Even at its, this notion that we will always have the resources for such things. It is just naturally unsustainable on a finite planet. We do not have the physical resources for all people to become transhuman. It's a fantastical idea. So I invite you to remember that creatrix self, whether you are a literal mother or not. This is the truth of our embodiment. This is what we have the capacity for. So I think I'll just leave it there.
Very great presentation. Thank you. A force of nature. So I'm looking at the two houses with the boundary and the barrier and all that, and I'm thinking about parents and the failure to teach kids or show them how to get to that safe place. And I'm also thinking about what you started with, which was the sensory and then the thinking. So what do you do with a kid who has lost their sense in a way?
So the question is, what do you do with a child who has lost their sense, a child who's gone down this path? I try to discern, I would help that child discern what is thinking, what is a think, and what is a feel. So in the phrase, I feel like I'm born in the wrong body, what is that word feel really doing? It's actually not really a feel at all, it's a think. Feelings are sensations. Whether those sensations are emotions like, ouch, I feel pain, or whether those sensations are an emotion like, I feel sad. Those feelings are sensations. So in the word, I feel like a woman, there's no woman, there's no holistic woman sensation except for the very specific physical sensations of our body. But there's no like overarching woman sensation. There's like, I have period cramps, or like my boobs hurt, or I don't know, I'm bleeding, or whatever. There are very specific physical sensations, but there's no like overarching woman sensation, and nor is there a woman emotion. Like, I'm so woman at you. I was mad at you before, but now I'm just feeling like woman at you. No, there's no woman emotion. You can't like be woman at someone. So that word is a stand-in for think. I think I'm born wrong. I think I feel. So it's an obsessive thought, like the anorexic who thinks she feels fat. She's not really fat, she's starving. You know, an anorexic who's like 87 pounds and they've got her hooked up to an IV because she's literally starving. She can't feel obese, nor is there a fat feeling. Like yesterday she felt sad, now she feels fat. She's feeling fat at you. She can't feel fat, she thinks, she has an obsessive thought. And where did that obsessive thought come from? That's where you can go with the kids. Where did that thought come from? What made you start thinking that thought? And get them to, if they say, no, it's something I really feel, keep helping them unpack it. Well, tell me more about the feeling, because I'm confused. I don't feel a feeling about that. That's what I would do.
I'm kind of thinking about obsessive thoughts in that vein, and you mentioned, every intuition should be responded to in some way. So I guess, what does that look like exactly? Is that a thought? And, for people who struggle with obsessive thoughts and such, sometimes you might think, oh, that's not really someone trying to intrude on my house or whatever. But what if that doesn't really quite resolve?
So that's really good. So usually, a true intuition is in the here and now. It's in the present. I heard something at the door. It's here, it's now, it's present. I get a really bad vibe from that guy. It's here, it's now, it's present. An obsessive thought isn't present. It's in the past. Like, I don't know if I said the right thing. I don't know if that's right. Maybe I should have done this. Maybe I should have done that. Or it's in the future. What if? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if it goes this way? A true intuition is there. The root of that word is to guard, protect. It's a guardian. It's there to guard you. And so the information that intuition has to give you is in the present moment. And it's to be responded to in the present moment. So if you find yourself obsessing about something outside of you in the future or that happened in the past, that's anxiety. That's an anxious thought.
First of all, thank you. You're amazing. It's so wonderful to see you in person. I learn everything you do. You said something about giving like trans folks, labeling them with gender dysphoria is like a disservice, right? Mm-hmm. I have a lived experience. I was married to a woman, and I watched her transition. We're not together, but I watched her hate her body in a way that was so crazy to me as a woman. Like when she got her period, like, no one's like, it's period time. Like, but she is like, she hated it. Like she felt like God was punishing her. Like my body is betrayed. Like she said all these things. She was so intense about it, and obviously she was so happy when she got to cut her dress off and get tea. But like I literally watched this person, and she was not okay. So what was she if she's not gender dysphoria?
Really quickly, so gender dysphoria, as it is defined in the DSM, is very important to know, because there's a lot of people out there saying, well, gender dysphoria means this to me, and gender dysphoria means that to me, and I really think it means this. But there is a clinical definition, and that's what we need to go by. And the clinical definition, in the definition of gender dysphoria, the word gender is not a synonym for sex. The word gender in the DSM definition of gender dysphoria is a social, political, lived role. And dysphoria is not a synonym for dysmorphia. It is not a discomfort in the body. It's not an embodied discomfort. It's an anxiety. So it's an anxiety produced by not having the quote-unquote right identity for your body. It's literally a born in the wrong body diagnosis. That you have a true identity that is out here, and this identity is truer than your lived experience. So, and it's about that role. So it's not, we can see that there are other body integrity issues. Anorexia would be a body integrity issue, or people who want to cut off their healthy limbs or blind themselves are having body integrity issues. So we might examine it as a body integrity issue, but that's just the manifestation. The body integrity issue is the manifestation of what's happening on the inside, and what's happening on the inside are all kinds of things. The reason your girlfriend was having it is very different than the reason that Bruce Jenner dresses as a woman. They're not both manifestations, and it really is very convenient to adult men to say that there is such a thing as gender dysphoria. I have heard some of the quote-unquote, true transsexuals out there speaking on this issue saying, I'm here to tell you, once you have gender dysphoria, you got it for life, so I'm telling you that, parents. No, that's bullshit. There is no such thing. So there's a lot of reasons why you might have discomfort in your body. A lot do have to do with societal projections. Maybe you just don't feel confident in your body. 2, you are obsessing, you are self-objectified. So already, once you are obsessed with your body like that, it tells me you are in such a state of dissociation that you are objectifying. There's a difference between hating your period because of the discomfort that you feel, like I just literally feel period cramps that are so painful, to a discomfort with like, oh my God, my body is reminding me that I'm a woman and I do not want to be reminded of this because, in other words, I've effectively dissociated myself and this is a reminder that I have this body. So there are a lot of reasons why people have dissociated from their experience. Sexual trauma, just the objectification of the world. And there's a really great book called Reviving Ophelia where Mary Piper, now don't read the revised version of this because she's written a revised version that has to do with trans ideology, but the original version looks at anorexia, cutting, bulimia, and other things that girls do when they face puberty and reject societal norms that are being pushed on them and want to reject their body. So it is a kind of a body rejection, but the specific thing in the DSM, that's a smoke and mirrors. There's nothing there. When you read those 12 pages, you'll read the 12 pages and you'll just be like, this is nothing, this is nonsense, this is junk, it's meaningless. There's no root thing there.
Was gender identity disorder a better term?
Slightly, but I would just say, people are having, a trans insanity panic. To me, this is more akin to, the Pied Piper effect of a social panic. It's cultish. This is cultish in how it's functioned, and even the DSM is cultish in that the prescription for gender dysphoria is affirmation only. That already tells me it's a cult. That's a cult.
1/3 of people currently gone into the gender identity place are autistic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, and they have a hard time being in their bodies. Yeah.
I hate to cut it off,
Okay.
but
Ask me later.
sorry.
Okay, thank you everyone.